No. This post is not about mushrooms. It is about intricate connections that are bearing fruit at last. A colorful display, a fruiting body of my neural network, ripe and ready to proliferate. I cannot stand the phrase mushroom hunting. Somehow, it immediately evokes an image of a cartoon character in my mind's eye. The one by the name of Elmer Fudd from Looney Tunes. Remember that guy who is creeping with his shotgun through the forest, and right away this statement villainizes me and victimizes the mushrooms. But that is not how it is at all. I go mushroom searching. I go mushroom gazing. I go mushroom gathering. I go mushroom photographing, not hunting. But where one language falls short, the other one covers the gaps. And a beautiful example of this is the Anishinaabemowin word puhpohwee. It means the force that causes the mushrooms to rise up from the earth overnight. There is no such word in English or such concept, but the indigenous pinned this one down. Pretty much everything about mushrooms' journey and fungal physiology reminds me of our own lives, and especially that of our spiritual journeys. We originate from the one, mycelium, then puhpohwee pushes us up to emerge as individuals, mushrooms, to experience light. Then under the veil of mystery, we wait, we mature, we get ready to release our messages, our seeds, our spores back into the world, thus returning home, back down to the ground, back down to the darkness, back down to the one. And recently, I've learned that indigenous people utilize 6 cardinal directions: east and west, north and south, and up and down. The latter being unusual to us. And somehow, down is the direction we tend to avoid the most. It got compartmentalized as up is good and down is evil. So naturally, we tend to avoid that one the most. But mushrooms exhibit this correlation just right, bringing forth a message of balance between the journey downward and the upward journey, between darkness and light. And the moment we acknowledge these 2 directions, especially the one going down, we dive like spores from the mushroom cap, initiating a journey back home. Mushroom gazing and gathering taught me many things. One of them, the understanding of the veil itself, the illusion, the Maya, the hidden. I've come to understand that this veil is of our own making. It is a part of us. It is a part of our design. Maya, the mind, is a protective layer. We break through it when we're ready. If you think of it this way, you will never again want to pull someone out from underneath the veil until they're fully ready. The veil is not evil. It acts like a cradle, holding us up until we ripen, until we're ready to leap. But then, of course, some of us are ready to stay in its comfort forever. So much I have learned from the mushrooms, but the biggest lesson yet was in the way we gather them. And this lesson wasn't apparent to me at first, but when it finally revealed itself in its fullest, I was stunned. How could I have missed this? A truth hiding in plain sight, kind of like a morel indistinguishable from the forest floor. From the very beginning of my quest to find mushrooms, I came face to face with an enormous amount of secrecy. If you haven't yet watched my video, Redwoods National and State Parks, A Road to Remember, please do, because there you will witness the very beginning of this journey. And in the opening statements, I actually say that the only reason I found this temperate rainforest in California's northwest region is because when I asked, no one would tell me where to find mushrooms. So I literally had to Google locations that are cool, dark, and moist. And that's how I found this temperate rainforest. And that's why I headed up there all on my own. Can you believe that these famous mushroom gatherers that make hour-long videos with them filling up their buckets to the brim with mushrooms won't really help you find them? Believe me, I've reached out to many of them, asking them for help, asking them to please take me with them or to please tell me where to go because I'm having a difficult time finding the right areas on my own as a beginner. But none of them were willing to share. They're afraid that I will come later and steal all of their mushrooms. Ironically, the only person who offered to take me picking was a native. But I got scared after seeing mushroom dick comparison pictures on his Instagram page, and I impolitely declined. Knowing what I know now, and especially knowing whose land I live on, I definitely owe that gentleman an apology. And that is what has revealed itself to me. That somehow, as a collective, we have decided to live by the creed of finders keepers, instead of I have found something for the betterment of us all. Intellectual property rights, secret gathering spots, patenting of the seeds, privacy, security, passwords, passcodes, locks, that is what makes up the veil around us. Our fears, our mistrust in each other and the universe. Instead of acknowledging, recognizing that there is one source to all of this abundance and that nature's free gifts are meant to be shared by all, we just love to claim ownership of them. My gathering spot, my precious treasure. This very same concept of finders keepers was adapted during the conquest of indigenous lands and justified by the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery was a permission given by the Pope to the Spanish and Portuguese settlers that allowed them to claim all of the lands that they found as their own, despite the fact that millions of indigenous people were already living on them, for so long as they were not Christian. Because the United States is so young, we have a vivid example right in front of us, revealing how things worked out since then, what they have blossomed into since the very beginning, how they have developed since our planting of that original seed. The seed that we have sowed on this land upon contact, our seed contained violence, deception, trickery, unfairness, and lies. And as this seed has grown and developed into a seedling, budded, flowered, became a mature plant that is bearing fruit now, it is evident that that violence and violation of human rights have grown and have propagated with it and are all around us. On the outside, the recurrence of the history is self-evident. Just look at the number of homeless people filling up our cities. Los Angeles is a big one. This country was built on someone else's land. People's homes, people's lands, their lives were stolen. And look at us now. We're in the midst of a housing crisis, with homeless people filling up the streets, others struggling to afford homes. if they simply work in dignity. We stole native people's gathering sites, and look at us now. Good food is overpriced. The rest lacks all nutritional value. Our gathering sites are almost gone. We stole native rivers, and look at us now. We have to pay for every drop of clean water, access to which should be every creature's birthright. Can you comprehend the real scope of what is happening? We did this. We did this to ourselves by doing it to our sisters and brothers first. I see remnants of the tainted seed hiding deep within our ordinary everyday actions. Even something as simple as claiming a mushroom spot as your own in the forest which you have never tended to. That's it right there. There is an echo of finders keepers, an echo of the doctrine of discovery. I have to switch sides. My foot is falling asleep. But to continue, what if I told you that time is breathing, that it expands and contracts, and we move back and forth in history with it? Cause and effect look very different from what we were taught, from what we believe in. We believe that effect is what comes after the cause and therefore affects our future, if then. But because time is breathing, the effect to every action we take in the now travels both ways, forwards and backwards, changing that which we call future and past along with it. The choices you make here now, every moment, are changing the way your past and future selves are experiencing their now. They perceive it as outside circumstances, but in fact, it is you here in the now making a choice that is rippling in time to them and affecting their present. My beautiful friends, sorry for the interruption. It is actually getting super late and I'm so tired. I'm tripping over my words trying to record this. So in order to bring this to a full completion tonight without postponing it any further, I'm actually going to just read off my notes, especially this next part about how time works, which one day I will make a separate video on just that, because I see this concept as pretty cool and I do want to share. So this concept, when it applies to this specific topic of finders keepers and sharing or not sharing, I think it's very important that I read it instead of trying to explain it and making you guys more confused than needs to be. So I'm gonna read for the rest of this video, and that's that. All right, I'm tired, I'm sorry. Where did we end? We ended on the choices that we make here now, right? We ended up somewhere there, that they affect our past selves and our future selves and create their now. And these choices that we make here now, because of the way the time moves, they either get amplified if they move towards the back, towards the center, back to the oneness, or these choices kind of disperse and distort if they move further away from the center into the future. But then again, your future and past, they only depend, they're relative. because they only depend on your positioning in the timeline of where are you facing, towards the center or away from the center. Because if you're facing towards the center, then your future might be the past. Then you're facing towards the past, but that is your future because you are on the inhale phase. Well, let me read it. But if you're moving away from the center and looking away from the center, then that is your future, right? So it all is relative. There's nothing kind of set in stone. You have to, I will teach you how to recognize whether you are in an exhale phase or an inhale phase of the universe, whether you are contracting now or expanding now, just kind of looking at your everyday circumstances in your life. It's a very cool thing to realize because it doesn't stay that way throughout the lifetime. You take little fluctuations, you go up and down. Well, each of your actions in the now either folds upon itself, condensing and multiplying in strength as it travels backwards in time towards singularity, or it stretches, dilutes, distorts, and fragments as it expands out away from the center. And that is what we receive in the future or past. A slightly different version of what we do now, diluted or multiplied, weakened or packing more punch. When we are moving backwards towards the center during a contraction phase, everything we do in the now condenses, intensifies. You claiming a single mushroom spot as your own in the now amplifies as it moves closer to the center. As this action falls upon itself and concentrates, gaining power and impact, it emerges looking like the doctrine of discovery on the other side in the 15th century. It is multiplied. Instead of you, it is us, many settlers. Instead of a mushroom patch, it is a claim to an entire continent. In the expansion phase, all of our actions in the now first dilute, then reduce, distort, and fragment. And then they're put back together and amplified again as the universe exhales and inhales. We're breathing with the universe, expanding, contracting, experiencing our own actions in various concentrations. Within every moment in the now, you can change everything, your past and your future. So take a moment to act with love. Shards of the devastating history we have planted with the original seed upon contact continue to spread out far and wide, still displaying those recognizable repeating patterns. They catch up with us as far and as deep as the woods. History finds a way to permeate reality through us, through our simple actions, like gathering mushrooms and hiding our spots. Even here, history laces our experience with secrets and distrust. I finally found a mushroom guide and sworn to him to keep secrecy of where we go. But suddenly, I feel strange in the only place that I felt free in, my forest. I feel wrong about going anywhere near the spots that my mushroom guide showed me, as if somehow that part of the forest is now his. Will he think that I'm stealing his mushrooms if I go for a walk around there? He's very worried about what I post on my Instagram, making us both uncomfortable. It is sad to have this feeling catch up with me here in the woods. The feeling of unease during what is a magical experience of gathering. Intellectual property rights, secret gathering spots, patenting of the seeds, patenting of ideas, privacy, security, passcodes, passwords, secret societies. This is what makes up the veil around us. Our own secrecy, our own mistrust in the universe and each other's actions. As I said, this veil is built into us. For all I know, we probably need it until we learn how to trust, how to let go and fly. As a creative and an intuitive being, I channel energy through my body perpetually, and I have learned to recognize that none of the knowing I receive is my own. All of the knowledge is given to share. It is given to all through multiple individuals, multiple vehicles. Otherwise, one could quickly become overwhelmed. The idea is to connect through the sharing of your entry point into the field of knowledge, and through the sharing of the gifts you have found there, especially if you keep going back and forth to collect more and more. You have now walked this path 1,000,000 times while someone else is lost, still looking for it. Won't you show them the way? A knowing, a gift, a discovery is not given to someone because they're smarter and kept secret from another for the lack of intellect. It is not like that at all, but rather it depends on your degree of clarity and connectivity, and also what you eat, but more on that later. Information is given to one so he or she can share it with others, and then others can share theirs back in due time. Based on the channels and pathways that are open within you, through which energy can flow freely through, in combination with your individual blockages, through which energy cannot pass, each of us makes up a unique energetic signature. Of course, the number of the slight variations of these signatures can run infinite. However, there is a solid number of general archetypes. The 12 signs in astrology are a great example of these 12 archetypes, the 12 main energetic signatures. People with identical open and shut channels have matching signatures and access like knowledge when energy flows through them, while others are discovering something different. Then we share what we have found with one another, feeling oneness, feeling whole through sharing. Whatever is closed within me is open within you, and so by combining our signatures, we complete the whole. Sharing assists our collective evolution and involution, minimizing the potential for an overwhelm. And it doesn't make you a loser if you aren't the first one to patent an idea or a knowing that has activated within you for personal enrichment. It simply means that you prioritize something else at the time. But in today's world, more than likely, you will have to pay for the knowledge that you didn't claim as your own first. We are wired to believe that whoever claimed it first is the rightful owner, even though we knew it all along. It's quite ridiculous. Claiming ownership of an idea or a discovery is incentivized and instantly aimed for monetization. But nothing is truly ever yours to begin with, and certainly no thing is forever yours. However, your patent, your copyright claim, your all rights reserved, keeps a lock on what could be shared. Believe me, you can be completely open about your mushroom spots, and those who have been searching will be delighted and grateful for your willingness to share, and will one day share with you their treasures and finds, while others are simply not interested in venturing out into the woods on their own in the first place. You can shout your location to them with a megaphone, but they don't care. They won't go. I've kept all of my doors always open because of the simple knowing. A thief will find a way to break in, regardless of the number of passwords and locks. Meanwhile, by locking something up, I'm always running a chance of keeping my fellow seekers out in the moment that my open door is needed the most. These mushroom spots and your ownership of them are not at all as important in comparison to the trust that can be built between us. The potential of rekindling of a kinship, a revival of reciprocity through sharing of gifts among like-minded individuals, within a community where not everyone is capable of finding what they're looking for, in a world where much is hidden under the veil of secrecy by default. We move away into the forests to live a life that is free from public interference, but what type of values are we importing into these places with us? Privacy, security, secrecy. Wouldn't it be more beneficial to engage with others by teaching and learning with them good practices of how to tend to the forest through shared experiences such as gathering mushrooms, foraging, and forest walks, instead of filming videos about gathering buckets full of mushrooms and not telling anyone where it is? That's so odd. Nature doesn't need gatekeepers. That's why there are no gates. Otherwise, they would be there. What it needs are not gates, but guides, who will take by the hand those who are ready, those who are seeking to reconnect. We tap into the same ideas all the time. It is beautiful and natural, and so this shared phenomenon happening in our mental space is sure to manifest within our physical, as we share this physical planet we live on. Sharing. Sharing. As I venture out onto the very edge of this topic, I must have gone a step too far because, lo and behold, like a coin, it flipped underneath me and I end up on the opposite side. Yes, it's not over yet. This neurological connection runs long and deep, just like a fungal network. Sharing a discovery, a location for a gift with someone who isn't truly ready, can also lead to terrible things. Just look at the discovery of the Americas, aka the New World. All events in our reality are multidimensional. If a new land was discovered within the physical plane, something immense must have been conceived mentally or maybe felt emotionally. Someone was clearly ready to advance into the new state of being. They have discovered a new dimension, maybe a new mental or emotional state, beyond limitations of everything they've ever known. But what followed or preceded, as time is breathing and the effect from a cause can move back and forth into the future and into the past. So what followed or preceded this mental or emotional breakthrough was a manifestation within the physical in a form of Columbus's arrival at the shores of the new land. All would be great if those who made the discovery, the explorers, were the ones to settle on the new land without spreading the word about it to the entire world, giving others a chance to develop their own neurological connections, to discover their own new states of being, their new worlds. But of course, as we know, it did not pan out as clear-cut as that. A significant portion of the first settlers were criminals who were forced to relocate and settle in the Americas, an equivalent to forcing someone to enter a new state of being which they have not come to on their own yet. Imagine tricking someone into hypnosis without their consent, or advancing someone at the very beginning of their spiritual journey to the most advanced level yet. Such an endeavor can have several outcomes. 1, they'll go crazy, or 2, they won't understand and will fall right back into their old ways. They won't be able to perceive clearly, to align with the newness, to comprehend a higher level of magic that surrounds them, since they didn't build these connections on their own, step by step, but were rather thrown in or dragged into a new state of being. When a person is not there yet, there is nothing you can do. Doesn't matter how much you try, they cannot hear you. That is what happened here. in the Americas. Explorers were ready, the rest were not yet. Upon contact, many were blind to the true divinity of this land and its people. Indigenous people were super advanced, but we saw them as primitive, ahead of us by a century in both spiritual development and connectedness to all life. Today, we realize that the only way forward is in fact backwards, towards simplicity, towards unity with nature, towards environmental stewardship, towards where indigenous people were all along. The universe is about to take an exhale, and we feel it. Yes, native people were already there when we arrived, closer to the essence, closer to the one. We were supposed to blend with them, learn from them, breathe in and out together, intertwining both worlds through our breath. But that did not happen, and here we are today. Now here is a healthy plan of action for all of us. Reconnect and restore. Give back what is not truly yours to begin with. Even though it's not you, take the time to apologize on behalf of your ancestors. They no longer have a voice, but I feel it in my heart that if they could, they would turn back the clock and do things differently. And remember that we've expanded as much as we can on one breath. The universe is about to exhale. That means we're moving backwards, towards the center, toward the one. And so, everything we do now condenses and multiplies. How to get rid of the tainted seed, you ask? By beginning to replace all the plants we have brought with us here with the native plants that originally belonged on this land. We are in the physical, so I'm teaching you how to work through the physical. We have to create a wave within this plane that will then ripple into all states of being and promote mental, emotional, and spiritual healing as well. By working through the physical, by planting only native seeds from now on, we will show our intention to the universe and it will meet us halfway. Parallel to planting a metaphorical seed that contained within it violence and deception, trickery and lies, we were also planting physical seeds brought with us from the old world, thus taking the land away not only from the native people, but also from the native plants for the farming of the old world ones. So, since I'm certain not many will be willing to give their land back to the indigenous people yet, the least we can do is plant some native plants, returning the land back to nature spirits. That would be a good place to start. And that's all. Well, lots more to discuss, but not today. I think this was enough. And if you have any questions, comments, please post them below. And remember that I love you and I appreciate you. And I wish you to have a beautiful night. Bye.